this. Labor migration to rich countries fell by more than a fifth last year. What accounts for this? Are job markets weakening there, or are opportunities growing in poorer countries?
It's a combination of the two, Gerald. We're seeing a lot of growth in developing countries throughout the world, providing a lot of opportunities for people who would have come to the United States and to other OECD countries in the past. But we're also seeing a decline in immigration, tightening of immigration rules in a lot of OECD countries. In the United States, my own country, New Zealand, the United Kingdom, Canada, we're seeing a pullback from what had been very liberal policies in recent years. And I think that is also contributing to the decline.
Well, humanitarian migration did jump by nearly a quarter as applications cleared. And as you just said, these asylum systems are becoming more stringent, reduced benefits, even limits on family reunification. So is that surprising that these numbers are still going up, though?
Yes, well, we continue to see a large flow of legal immigrants into the United States. Every year we receive about 1 million what we call green card holders, lawful permanent residents, people who are put on a path to citizenship. And, that's more people than the rest of the world combined. So that's something for the United States to be proud of. But at the same time, we're seeing restrictions on the number of people who are being allowed to cross our borders illegally, the number of people who are turned away at the ports of entry because they don't have proper documents. And that's definitely cutting into the humanitarian flow to the United States. And you're seeing similar stories play out across Europe, across Australia, New Zealand. That's definitely taking a bite out of that huge humanitarian flow that we had seen over the past 5 or 6 years. So, that's definitely making a big difference. But, there is still a pretty fair amount of legal immigration, including to Europe and including to the United States. So it's sort of a mixed bag when you talk about migration overall. But when you take out that unauthorized portion, you're definitely taking out a big part of the overall migration.
So what is the outlook like for new migrants when they enter and resettle these countries? And which ones in the OECD are most successful at integrating them into society?
Well, I might be a little bit biased, but I can tell you that the United States is probably the best country for that. We refer to the United States as a propositional country. We don't have a national religion. We have a de facto national language, but most Americans that I know, are somewhat conversant in Spanish and, can even be a bit conversant in French. So we do a very good job, though, of inculcating people into American culture and bringing them along as Americans. Second and third generation Americans are as American as my family. We've been here since before the revolution. So, but there are other countries that struggle with that. The national culture, the national language is very difficult to learn, and they do have problems integrating into those societies. But the Anglosphere definitely probably does a better job of that than any other country. But I think a lot of other countries are trying to model themselves on the United States. I'm not really sure it's going to work too well. We will see. But far and away, the United States is the best country at acculturating people, assimilating people, and making them part of the body politic.
So depending on their visas, new immigrants tend to work in either competitive, high-paying jobs or in much lower-paying, labor-intensive sectors. How likely do you think this is to change? Because it's lasted for a very long time.
So in the United States, President Trump has called for a turn to more higher skilled labor. Right now, about 63% of all immigrants who come to the United States come through family. They don't necessarily have any particular skills. They may not even be able to speak American English. If Trump gets his way, we're probably going to see a much larger flow of higher skilled labor to the United States. And a lot of people who have come here through family or people who come here irregularly, they generally fill those lower paying jobs, the ones that are under the table and don't necessarily follow all of the labor laws. And there are many labor laws in the United States. And I think that's true in a lot of countries around the world. You see that dichotomy, as you mentioned before, about 1 in 4 doctors, 1 in 6 nurses in the OECD are immigrants. And, those are high skilled positions. Those are what we refer to as STEM positions in the United States: science, technology, engineering, and math. And I think that that's going to continue. And, this is good for the world because the opportunity to, come to a developed country, to make money, to send it back home, to build up the home country, those are all good things for the rest of the world. That's one of the positives of migration. But it also, it's incumbent upon academic institutions in those OEC countries to offer more opportunities to their own citizens, their own native-born citizens, so that they too can, have the opportunity to develop. And, quite frankly, money and interpersonal relationships are really the two great assimilating factors when it comes to immigration.